Hi, and welcome to this week's Nasty Nelson podcast, brought to you by Pickleball News Asia. This week, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the exhibition matches that are being putting on around Asia, which is becoming kind of a regular thing now, with pickleball stars coming in to do tournaments or being brought in by their sponsor vendors to run exhibition games and exhibition matches. There was a big one this week, the EULA Titans Tour 2026. So I wanted to talk a little bit about that. But before I do, if you like what we do and you enjoy these videos and want to help us spread the word a little wider, it will help a lot if you could subscribe or like the video. So if you could go ahead and do that, we would be really appreciative, and thank you for doing so. But back onto the topic at hand. So what we see has happened across Asia over the last couple of years is that as the movers and shakers of the pickleball world have seen that the sport is really catching fire in Asia, of course they've come and paid attention to the marketplace here. And one of the things that we see quite often now is pickleball stars coming in to run exhibition matches. It's happened various times. I think one of the first ones was Kwandong. And at first, when these exhibition matches happened, to be honest, it didn't really matter what the content of those exhibition matches were, because players and fans in Asia were somewhat starved of seeing the big pickleball stars live and in person. So just seeing one of the top 10 players in the world on a court playing their shots was something that was a real treat for us, because you actually get to see, hey, what do the real elite of the game, what does it look like when they play? It's kind of fascinating. So just turning up, running a very basic clinic, playing some exhibition matches was enough to keep us all really satisfied and eager. But I think the good news is we now in Asia have been really spoiled with not just with the PPA and APP putting attention into the marketplace and bringing the world's top players over here to compete, but also with the rise of Asian players to world level. So we now have world-class elite players that are playing out of Asia, and also that the vendors themselves, whether it was Franklin with Paris Todd and Patrick or whoever else it might be, the vendors are coming over here with their top players to then run exhibition matches and everything else. But I want to cast a slightly critical eye on what they're doing, because with us now being somewhat spoiled, we have seen these players, and just seeing them is probably no longer enough. So yesterday evening, I was fortunate enough to go to the EULA Titans Tour 2026 in Malaysia. One of their sponsors, Dinkit, was kind enough to invite me to attend, so I appreciate that invite and got the chance to go. And I wanted to discuss the good, but also where now companies like EULA, in my opinion, need to step up and do more. Because I don't think it's enough now just to stick top players on a court and just hope that the entertainment value they give the audience will be enough. Case in point, last night at that Titans Tour in Malaysia, at the start, the seats were pretty much 100% full. But well before the end, people were drifting out. And by the time we got to the end, I would say it was about a third had already left early, which would suggest that the entertainment value was not as high as it should have been, which, considering the cast of players they had there, is a little bit disappointing. So if I look at that one in isolation, what was good about it? Well, first of all, you had you had some fantastic players elite players there. Ben Johns, Anna Bright, Staxrud, who turned up a little late but still got there. Len Yang, maybe not top player, but was very entertaining when he was on the court. Colin Johns, Brooke Buckner, Kate Fahey. So, I mean, incredible players. And then also Andre Agassi was there as well. Then on the other side, in terms of Malaysian players and Asian players, they had a host of people there, but I guess it was topped really by the fact that Datuk Minawan, former national hockey captain for Malaysia, was there, and Datuk Nicole Davis was also there playing, which was fantastic. So to get those two in playing against the top players in the world is kind of fascinating to watch. So I think that side, just who they assembled, was just absolutely amazing. But with such a great cast, you would want the product being what they deliver on court, the entertainment. It now needs to step up, I feel, because reality was the excitement and the atmosphere in the crowd really went through a number of lows, because I think more professionalism needs to be put into what these shows are, because if they're expecting people to pay good money to come and be entertained, they now need to think much harder about what is it that happens on the court to really entertain people, because it is now no longer enough just to see these people. We've been spoiled, we've seen them a lot, they come here a lot, and we're grateful for that, but now there needs to be more that happens. So one of the issues is this, I think, the joy of watching someone like Ben Johns or Kate Fahey or whoever it is, generally speaking, is seeing them in real competition. So because what you want to see is them playing at their absolute best. That's what we love about the game. So when they're playing exhibition matches, that doesn't really happen, right? So they don't play at their top. You don't really see the amazing feats of pickleball ability that comes from the competition. So that is immediately missing. And that also means that the tension and your passion about what happens in the game is also missing. So that eventually deflates things. But that can be made up for with the entertainment value that the players do when they're playing. So are they funny? What do they say? How do they interact with the audience while they're going on? So I mentioned Len Yang before. Now, he's big character and exceptionally funny and entertaining when he's on the court. But reality is that the majority of the players, the world's top players, are not show people. So when they're on court and they're playing an exhibition match, most of them don't have anything funny, amusing, or interesting to say. A couple of them do, but mostly they're just kind of playing well within themselves, putting up lobs, not really showing you their best of pickleball, and at the same time, there's nothing really scripted, and they're just leaving them to try and come up with funny things to say. After 5-10 minutes, it actually gets quite boring, and so you're not watching anything outstanding in terms of their ability, and you're also seeing fairly substandard people with trying to come up with things to say that don't have ability to do it. So more has to be thought into how do you make them interesting on the court, because it's no longer working. I think the other problem that I see is that they mix the star players with getting people out of the audience to play. And very often the people that are selected out of the audiences may be connected to the sponsors or those kind of things. And then you have long sessions. I think there was nearly a 10-minute session with a whole bunch of kind of influencers and people that were picked out of the audience playing a game. Now, for most of the audience, and that if you listened to the atmosphere and felt the atmosphere in the arena at that time, people were just not even watching. They weren't engaged because we're there to see the stars. It's really not very interesting for an audience of a few hundred to be watching a bunch of people that can't play very well on a court, playing and enjoying themselves, but it's really something that should just happen behind closed doors. They get the chance to play with the professionals, yes, but for the audience watching, seeing a bunch of people that can't play very well, playing a game for quite a long period of time when you've got all these stars on the sideline, seems to be ironic, and it definitely was deflating for the audience. I think a lot of people actually started walking out during that time. Not mass walkout, understand, but just drifting out. So they were losing people. And certainly from my perspective, there was no interest in that part at all. I'm there to see the top players because that's the exciting thing. And then also, I'll even go down to the comparing and the hosting. That for me was also not well enough thought through and a little disappointing. So for instance, Andre Agassi was playing one particular game. After the game, compere called him across and asked him a question, something along the lines of, you've won Wimbledon, US Masters, Grand Slam tournaments. How does playing here in Malaysia tonight pickleball compare to those moments? Agassi just kind of ignored the question and just spoke about pickleball. It's not really a valid question. It's almost a ridiculous question to ask. My point being that needs to be a bit more depth done to think about what are really interesting questions to ask these people. Everyone knows that winning a major is a pinnacle of anyone's sporting career, and playing an exhibition match in front of a few hundred people is somewhat different. I'm sure he enjoys it, but it's not even a comparison that's worth making. So thinking about what you do with these athletes and how you maximize the interest level, more needs to be done. Again, there was a game where I think Dato' Nicole David was playing with Ben Johns, and Dato' Minawam was playing with Anna Bright at a game. That was very entertaining, fantastic to see, superstars from Malaysia with the top players in the world playing. That was just really wonderful to see. But at the end of that game, which was an exhibition game, didn't really matter who won or lost, they only pulled over the winning team. And the winning team did not contain Nicole David. So they didn't even speak to Nicole David after. Now, I don't know if she didn't want to speak, so maybe she had said that she played but didn't want to speak or be interviewed. But to me, disappointing that you've got, I think voted the best squash player in the world of all time on that pickleball court, a total Malaysian sporting hero, and they didn't even bother to speak to her after the game. So she's really disappointing. So where am I up to? What am I saying? I'm saying that I feel now that with the sport expanding as it is, these exhibition matches are welcome. I really appreciate the local Malaysian companies. As I said, I think it was Dinkit that invited us, really working hard to get such a great cast of characters in. I still appreciate the chance to see these great athletes and great pickleball players playing, but the sport is growing up. And whilst they spend so much time to put these shows and events and exhibitions together, they now really need to think about what do they do when they're actually playing to really give better value, better entertainment to the people going watching, because ultimately it's the fans that make the sport grow. And whilst these things are good, the sport in every aspect needs to keep on growing and getting better. And one of the things that has to happen, and this example I've given is not an isolation, it's pretty much been the case at all the exhibitions that I've now attended. So I think they now need to think about how do they step up and improve the production value of these events they're doing, because I think that it's no longer going to be good enough to keep the interest and excitement of the fans to just stick players in a court and kind of do a basic, let's play some games to justify us spending money to come and see those exhibitions. So maybe you disagree, maybe you think I'm being a killjoy, maybe you think I shouldn't worry so much about all these things, maybe perhaps a bit too much of a perfectionist, but if you do disagree, please put in the comments. If you agree, also put. But overall, I hope the exhibition matches do continue through the year, but I also hope that they pay attention to how they can improve the experience for those of us that come along to support. And with that, brings us to the end of this week's edition. Hope you enjoyed it. Please do like and subscribe so that others can see, and we'll see you next time.